Hi guys, what's up YouTube? This is QuickBob here at it with a Wi-Fi battle that happened between Obli and Saito for the third round of the Prime Cup. This was a very good match, so much so that I recreated it using Obli's team, exact EV spreads, exact everything, and Saito's team on the right, which again, exact EVs, exact moves, and no different hacks happened. So this was very nice. Now, for information, this isn't the exact same rule set as the Smogon rules, because this is for our league, Nefrox League, and in our league, we have pretty different bans. For example, 1,000 Arrows is banned, Protein is banned, so Greninja has only access to its Ash form and not Protein. And there are a bunch of other differences. I'll link it all in the description. Hopefully you can check it out. And you know what? I hope this match proves that this is a pretty fun metagame and a pretty competent one too. I'll link you to the Discord, the rules, and even our usage stats because we have a usage statistics for matches in our tournaments. And overall, I hope you enjoy. Now, as for teams, it seems like Obli is carrying a relatively offensive team, focusing more on anti-meta stuff such as Infernape and Tapu Bulu, who has a pretty interesting set, and overall focusing on gaining momentum through hazards and more or less speed control and priority control. Now, Saito seems to have an all-out offensive team as well, trying to gain momentum through the forms of Tapu Koko and having high damaging output mons like Mega Medicham, who Obli doesn't really have a switch into because, let's be real, who has a switch into Mega Medicham? Has access to Gigalith, which I assume is primarily to get Gravity because one of Gigalith's main usages as a Sandstormer is to set up Gravity because that gives Drill a lot fewer switch-ins and overall makes it harder for certain Pokemon such as Lando and Skarmory to safely, switch in on a Drill. You have mons like Volcarona to act as a late game sweeper in the end, and Tangrowth to essentially tank bulky waters and grounds, which are all very prominent in this meta. And now, without further ado, let's begin. Saito decides to lead off with Gigalith, while Obli, seeing that most of his team doesn't fare well against Garchomp as a lead, sends out Garchomp. Garchomp can basically get up rocks for free here, which is very good because it weakens his Volcarona, and his only way to remove hazards is through Excadrill, if he even has it, because remember, it's offensive. Now, Gigalith goes for Stealth Rocks. It's relatively safe to assume that Garchomp would just go for Stealth Rocks because it just was way too rewarding. Gigalith decided to switch into Tangrowth. It wouldn't, he wouldn't have wasted a turn coin for Earthquake. He would just get Stealth Rocks up and maintain his momentum. So now, he decides to switch out to Bulu, relatively safe. Gigalith can't really do much, as Gigalith sets up Gravity, essentially to make sure that Excadrill can get in pretty safe, because now it's a lot harder for an answer to Drill to just merely pop out, because, Skarmory is no longer an answer. Now, he decides to send out Excadrill because it is an answer, as Bulu goes with a Bulk Up. Now, I'm assuming he predicted this because this Bulu actually carries specifically enough investment to be able to tank HP Ices from Tangrowth, meaning that Bulu can just set up, and as Excadrill goes for the Iron Head, the Tapu Bulu Obli actually predicted him to send out Tangrowth, fearing the fact that he just went for Bulk Up, and that would have actually given a free opportunity to just set up and potentially end this game early because he really doesn't have a lot of answers for it. But Saito makes the risky but really rewarding play, kills the Tapu Bulu, doesn't want it, and assesses that now Obli's going to send out Garchomp, which means that he might as well send out Tangrowth, because Garchomp can take a hit from Drill. He didn't set up Swords Dance, and seeing the Stealth Rocks, you know it's defensive. So Garchomp decides to go for a Toxic, get residual damage. Overall, it's very solid, and wants to scout out what Tangrowth's hidden power is, because if it's HP Fire, well, then he won't go for it, and that means that this is a safe switch-in. But if he goes for HP Ice, which he just did, Garchomp's able to tank it and be able to consider that Skarmory is now a pretty safe switch-in. And he decides to, instead of going into Skarmory, Obli decides to send out Infernape because Infernape essentially gets a free kill versus his team. His primarily answer towards bulky waters and grounds is Tangrowth, which is very nice, but it doesn't help against Infernape because while Tangrowth does well versus Keldeo, Infernape just kind of says, screw you, I'm gonna kill something. So now, Tangrowth is going to take a bunch of damage from Toxic. Not a bunch, but enough to rack up, and now it's enough to die from Fire Blast. He decides to set out Volcarona. He wants to sack it. He doesn't want to risk Gigalith tanking a close combat in a prediction, because that would actually very much hurt his momentum, as that means that Excadrill gets one less turn of Sandstorm, which is one less turn needed for him to actually sweep. Now, he decides to set out Gigalith now. Doesn't really have a lot of safe answers, but he just wants to Sandstorm up as soon as possible. Get Drill in as safe as possible, as he now goes for close combat, killing the Gigalith. Saito decides to bring in Koko instead of Jill directly. There's no real reason to send out Jill directly as Skarmory's still on the field, and now he actually pressures something to die because he doesn't really have a lot of switch-ins. His only answer now that Bulu's gone is Scizor, and if he risks taking a Thunderbolt, he loses the match. So he essentially just has to sack Garchomp. There was really nothing he could have done, and now he's able to safely bring out Scizor. And his only real way of scaring this thing out is by essentially making sure it doesn't set up or try to do anything stupid, as Scizor, after Mega Evolving, is able to take a potential Thunderbolt, but in this case it was a Volt Switch, which in one hand hurts Mega Scizor because he just went for Swords Dance trying to scare it out and potentially counter sweep because even Drill cannot take a Bullet Punch well. But he actually predicts the Drill to go back at the Tapu Koko, or anything really, and he sets the U-turn as Drill just goes in and goes for the kill. Now, he decides to send out Greninja, essentially because Sandstorm's off, he can just get a free hit in, and he decides, you know what, let's at least force the Tangrowth. He goes for the Hydro Pump, it misses, and it doesn't really matter at all because it would have done jack. Now, Greninja switches out, goes out to Skarmory. It's kind of essential that he does because it lets him go in safely. He doesn't want to risk Infernape taking an Earthquake. And not only that, this is a good time for him to set up hazards or just flat out weaken this Tangrowth, as he decides to just go for the Brave Bird because Brave Bird plus Toxic would really rack up and it would make Greninja much easier. He'll be able to just come in and clean up Saito's team later on. Now here, Obli makes a calculated risk. He didn't want to risk any weird set like SmackDown or something else that would just completely screw over Obli, because why would you send out, Excadrill against a Skarmory? But, according to Saito, he did it because he wanted Rocks out, because he valued Rocks more than Excadrill. Excadrill wasn't doing much, but getting Rocks out allows Tapu Koko to come in without taking any hazards damage, making sure that Greninja cannot just flat out kill it, and honestly just making sure that Tapu Koko will come in, kill something, get out, kill something, and it makes Tapu Koko a very scary win condition against Obli. And speaking of threats, well, Infernape was just out on the field and it took out Excadrill, and it forces Koko to come in. As we said, it's relatively safe, and Infernape basically has to go down. It's not really going to be able to safely switch in, and nothing else can actually take a hit. So guess what? Infernape's just going to come in, and it's about to die from the Thunderbolt. Obli's forced to bring out Greninja here. He has to go for the Water Shuriken. If he doesn't go for the Water Shuriken, he's basically lost. And now Saito's able to abuse that. Just go out to Tangrowth. While it is true that Obli could have predicted and went for Ice Beam, overall it still wouldn't have done a lot. And overall, it was just a very safe play for Saito to just send out Tangrowth. And now Obli is forced to send out Skarmory. It's essentially his only chance at really winning. And Skarmory is, as we said earlier, now able to properly stall out this Tangrowth and actually beat it 1v1. Saito's able to win this by stalling out Tangrowth though, as now after Tangrowth dies, he's able to freely send out Coco against the Skarmory. Volt Switch out as 2 fake outs from Mega Medicham will be enough to take out the Greninja, and Saito is the winner in a very close, in the original 1-0. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed this match. It was a very close match. I enjoyed commentating it, and hope you guys check out Nefrox League. We're doing a stream tomorrow at 10 a.m. and hope you guys will be there. Rate, comment, subscribe. See you guys. Take care. Peace.